Hello, and welcome to the Next Generation Intrusion Prevention System training module focused on identifying, qualifying, and positioning the IPS solution. My name is Joseph O'Loughlin, and I'm a Product Marketing Manager here at Cisco. As you can see, this is the second of 9 training modules for the Next Generation IPS solution. By now, you should have completed the Introduction module. So if you haven't, I recommend that you stop here and go back and address that before continuing. At the end of this training module, there will be a series of questions that are designed to make sure that you've gotten the major points that we were trying to convey during this training and that you can use those out in the field. So let's get started with Module 2, Identifying, Qualifying, and Positioning. The first thing that we'll discuss is where we position our next generation IPS solution, both internally within Cisco's new security model, as well as externally in the marketplace. We'll review those product features that differentiate our solution from our competitors, as well as additional aspects of the solution that bring value to our customers. We'll spend some time acquainting you with the Firepower security platform, and then finish by talking about what sales opportunities are in our sweet spot and which ones you're going to need to qualify a little bit more. So by the end of this module, we're hoping that you can identify what those differentiators are and the value and impact that they will have for our customers, that you'll be able to talk about the security platform that IPS runs on, those additional solutions that can be added to it, as well as the features that allow us to better fit into a customer's existing environment. And then finally, that you'll be able to identify those sales situations which are much more likely to result in success, and those that you're going to have to work a little bit harder at to qualify. So let's start talking about the positioning of next generation IPS. So hopefully you're familiar with this diagram. This is Cisco's new security model. It's also known as the before, during, and after model. And it's designed to address the entire attack continuum. More specifically, what steps do I need to take before an attack happens? What features do I need to have in place during an attack? And what capabilities do I need to be able to provide after an attack has been successful? Now you can see down on the bottom, really the better together story that Cisco and SourceFire are now providing our customers. All of the different solutions and security value that we can provide to them. But we're talking about next generation IPS. And so as you can see here from this diagram, it actually plays in the during aspect of this security model. So it provides the ability to identify and detect attacks as they're happening, to proactively block these attacks, to provide a level of defense to our customers. Now I should mention that there are capabilities that the IPS solution has that are extremely valuable in the before portion of this attack continuum. They provide a great deal of insight. We're going to go into those more in depth later when we talk about FireSight. And as well as there are capabilities that IPS has in the after portion of it. But for the most part, when we're talking about positioning, next generation IPS resides in the during portion of the attack continuum. So that's how we position ourselves internally when we're talking about our solutions. But let's turn our attention to how we position ourselves in the marketplace. And specifically, what makes a next generation IPS? And does that have any industry value to it? Well, it does. Gartner's published a paper on that, and it's downloadable. So you can get it and review it, but it really comes down to 5 different features that take an intrusion prevention system to the next generation level, and not everybody can say that. So the first one is the ability to actually do intrusion prevention, to be able to inspect network packets as they go by, and to be able to identify attacks that are contained therein, and so to take steps to prevent those attacks from being successful. The second piece is a full network stack visibility, including application awareness, the ability to identify applications as they're coming through in those communications. The third piece is context awareness or contextual awareness. And that's really taking all of that visibility, all of that full stack visibility, and breaking that down and presenting it in such a way that it provides an analyst additional information to understand events as they are seeing them. So to be able to understand what else is happening on your network, what operating systems are out there and such, so that they can better address or better understand other events that they're seeing. The fourth piece is content awareness. Now, this is the ability for a solution to be able to identify file types as they go through across the network and be able to take steps in as far as setting up protections based on file types. Do I want to inspect these certain ones? Do I want to block these other ones? So being able to be aware of content that's contained in these network transmissions. And then finally, an agile engine. And what this really breaks down to is the ability to layer on additional security solutions onto your next generation IPS platform. So it's not a separate appliance that's going along with it, that it actually can be applied against that same engine. And our solution has all of these capabilities. So what sets us apart? What are those features that are really the competitive differentiators? What are the things that we want to be getting across to prospects and customers alike? Well, we can start with the fact that Gartner, in their Magic Quadrant for IPS solutions, has rated the SourceFire IPS as a leader for 8 straight years, every year since 2006. And with the last report, we've been identified as the most visionary. You'll notice McAfee is rated above us in the ability to execute. Gartner explains this by stating that it's the same concern that they have whenever a smaller technology company is bought by a larger one, that innovation and integration will not continue as it had in the past. At the time of this recording, we had just announced the integration of the AMP technology into Cisco's email security appliance as well as their web security appliance. And we have additional enhancements that will be coming up at the Cisco Live conference. So I fully expect that this will more than satisfy Gartner's requirements and any questions they have for next year's report. So what are some of the reasons that Gartner found us to be most visionary in the IPS industry? Well, we certainly have a rich feature set. And there's probably more information than I could hope to cover during the time that we have today. But if I was presenting this and I wanted to make sure that you were familiar with all of the vernacular, I'd first want to focus on all of the common things that we share with our competitors, such as reports and dashboards, the ability to operate both passively and inline, and our vulnerability-based signatures. But if you looked at all the differentiation that SourceFire offers, it would be a much longer list of terms and things that you should be familiar with. So I encourage you to go and look at some of our Friday training recordings, as well as other resources that we have out there to make sure that you're familiar with all of these different terms. However, for the rest of this presentation, I'm going to focus in 3 specific areas of differentiation, namely FireSight, security intelligence, and our Firepower security platform. So let's begin with FireSight. So first off, what is FireSight? Well, it's essentially SourceFire's secret sauce. It's the brains behind our intelligence. We passively discover network and user information, also known as contextual awareness, and use that information to build network maps and host profiles. We also use that information to make smarter decisions and fuel automation. Things such as impact assessment, automated IPS tuning, tying user identities to security events, compliance rules, behavioral monitoring, spotting baseline anomalies. All of these things are driven by this FireSight capability. It's also the name of our centralized management platform for enterprise class management over distributed environments. As this table clearly shows, FireSight truly does see everything. A typical FireSight deployment would provide visibility into all of the items listed here, unlike typical IPSs, which may only see threat and vulnerability signatures, or a typical next-generation firewall, which adds user, web applications, and maybe other application types to that. FireSight's full-stack visibility surpasses other technologies on the market. We see things others can't, things such as client-side applications, operating systems, mobile device types, virtual machines for machine-to-machine communication, malware, and more. This real-time contextual awareness provides an information superiority advantage so that defenders can stay ahead of attackers. Remember, if you can't see it, you can't protect it. And with Firesight, you see it all. So visibility into data is good, but how does the Firesight Management Center take that data and turn it into usable information for the security analyst? Well, one of those ways is through the use of the Context Explorer. Now, the Context Explorer is designed to give a real good snapshot of what's happening on your network right now. It gives an analyst the ability to view all traffic by application and look for specific risky applications and the activity that's surrounding them, such as who is using them. Context Explorer also provides the ability to see what operating systems and the versions of those operating systems that are out there. Provides the ability to drill down and see who the specific users are. And then what else have those users been up to, as well as being able to look at just the network traffic over time, which would enable you to set a baseline activity for your network and then be able to identify any anomalies as they come up. All that information makes Firesight Context Explorer a very valuable tool for quickly drilling down and mining information that can otherwise be overwhelming. The value of Firesight doesn't end with Context Explorer. As I mentioned during my operating system example, Firesight allows us to drill down on events and answer questions, such as who are the targeted hosts, what operating systems and versions are running, which server and applications are running, what client-side applications are accessing their operating system versions, and applications running such as browsers and others, and which users are behind those. From that information, you can pivot out and see what other user activity is going on and perhaps zero in more quickly. For a security analyst, this is truly information at their fingertips. And it's often difficult to come by in other solutions and would require access to multiple sources. Only the Firesight Management Center brings all of this network and user visibility and puts it in one place and makes it this easy to navigate. This is a very big differentiator for us. Another value that Firesight provides is the ability to speed up investigations. One of the ways it does this is by linking security events with the user who is associated with them. So as you can see here, we have a view of applications, Twitter applications, and we have the IP addresses of all of the hosts that are executing the Twitter application. And we can see the category and the tags that we've associated with it. But over here to the right, you can also see through a link to the Active Directory, we have associated a user with that specific IP address. So this prevents the analyst from having to contact their DHCP team and figure out based on this IP address which user was on there at that time. Firesight does that for them automatically. This is an additional level of detail that's really not available in other technologies. And it's a great differentiator for us, as well as being a great time saver for our customers. So another area where Firesight provides tremendous value to our customers is its ability to streamline operations. So we talked about all of the different pieces of information that Firesight can see and how we can take that information in. So I can know what networks, what hosts are out there, what routers are out there, what my users are, what operating systems, what applications are running and such. Well, then taking that and being able to identify all of those pieces as well as the vulnerabilities that are associated with those pieces allows me to really understand what's going on in my network. And I start to understand what's important in my network. And if I can understand what's important in my network, I also know what's not important in my network. So for example, I'm sure our customers don't want to be notified when a Linux attack is seen going against a Windows Server bank. Why? Because it's not important. It's not going to be successful. So there's no need for me really to prioritize my actions based on that. But if I can take that information, if I see a Linux attack that's going against a Linux server bank, And then based on the vulnerability information that I also have insight to, and I can correlate that. So now I can see a Linux attack going against a Linux server bank, and the attack is relevant to that particular version of Linux and a patch level and to a particular application and version that you're running. Well, correlating all that information together makes that event that much more important. And that's what we're doing here in this screenshot for intrusion events. We refer to this as the impact flag, is being able to take these 777 events that we see down here and take all of the information that Firesight is able to see and the events that are coming across the network, as well as the hosts and operating systems and their vulnerabilities, and correlate all of that information and really wind up with 61 events that are important. These priority 1 events represent attacks against resources that may have been vulnerable to those attacks. So they're the ones that the security analysts need to go research and spend their time on. So we've provided over a 90% reduction in the number of events that would come through. So this greatly streamlines and focuses the analyst's attention and provides great cost savings and better security to our customers. Another way that I can use Firesight to streamline operations and improve security is in the area of how we roll out our intrusion policies. Because if we know what kind of devices we have out there, then we understand what kind of policies we need to have in place. After all, that's what security analysts do on a day-to-day basis. They go and they take a look at their network, and when things change, they tweak their security devices to provide the level of protections necessary for those assets. Well, why can't we just automate that process? Why can't we just use technology to do what technology does best? Well, that's what we do with Firesight. From the policy recommendations page, I can use all of that information that I've seen on the network, and I can start to correlate what assets I have, what vulnerabilities are there, and what rules need to be put in place. And I can start to create a set of policies that's custom fit for my network. Now, we don't mean to say that our customers will never have to go and tune their policies manually ever again, but we do greatly reduce the amount of tuning that they have to do. So that's why we've been focusing on Firesight. It's a great differentiator for us. The level of visibility that it provides is unparalleled. The ability to spot hosts that don't belong on your network, to spot traffic anomalies, policy violations, that's invaluable to keeping a secure organization. The impact assessment capabilities, so being able to correlate events against susceptible assets, reduces all of the noise that security analysts need to deal with and allows them to focus their attention where they should. Automated tuning is a combination of that visibility and that automation by seeing how my network is changing, to constantly be able to identify changes to the network and then make recommendations on levels of protection that should be applied in your environment, really custom fitting the solution for you. And then finally, just saving the amount of time that you have to take a security event and link that to an actual user is a great level of value to our customers. So when we talk about the value of Firesight, this is it. This is the so what. This is what makes our solution different. This is what saves organizations money. This is what makes their networks more secure. This is why the technology is more innovative on the Magic Quadrant. All of these things point back to this kind of functionality. Here's a case study that SANS did with a credit reporting agency. They have 7,500 employees. Many of our customers have networks much bigger than that. Just reducing the impact flag and being able to know what events are important, you can save so many man-hours at the rate of $75 an hour. You can save hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of a year. Just tuning the functionality where you're not having to make adjustments, because we can do that automatically for you, as your network changes, as new devices come on, like BYOD devices, as new operating systems come on, we can adjust what we have as our policy for you. And we can customize that policy so that it's more secure for your network. And then linking the IPS events to your users, so you don't have to call your DHCP people and ask the questions who had this IP address at that particular time. We saved almost $250,000 per year, just in operational savings. As I stated earlier, Firesight is not only how we refer to the technology that allows us to passively collect and then automatically use more network and user information than any other IPS solution. It is also the name of our enterprise class management application. The Firesight Management Center is a single place for the configuration and administration of your SourceFire NG-IPS deployment, including those important aspects of event analysis and policy management. You've seen pieces of it in the previous slides, but let's focus a little more on the interface itself. As you can see, the interface is streamlined with all the management functions accessible through a tab design that's easy to navigate. Additional levels of control are displayed as you drill down into the interface. In addition to the data that you previously saw shown in the Context Explorer, the Firesight Management Center also includes a series of dashboards to provide at-a-glance trending information so that you can pretty much see what's going on in your security environment from a single pane of glass. There are over 80 predefined widgets to choose from, and they could easily be arranged to provide a customized dashboard view for any user according to their data requirements and organizational role. You can see the intrusion events dashboard I covered earlier that shows the results of our impact flag capability. This dashboard, along with all of the rest, has a rich set of information behind it, so they can be easily customized and added to. And by clicking on any of the highlighted data points, you can drill down to supporting event information. By simply clicking over to the Policies menu option, you can see that policy management is all tabbed and centralized, so you can have management over the entire rule set within a very integrated design. In this case, you're looking at rule sets dealing with access control. You can see here where I have what look to be typical firewall type rules dealing with mobile devices, the Facebook application, as well as some rules that block access to certain websites. These rules are possible due to the addition of the application control and URL filtering options, which we'll discuss a little more in a couple of slides. The point that you should take from here is how integrated all of these applications are, and how easy it is to manage your policies from the same interface, using the same concepts, whether it's you're setting IPS policies or application policies or compliance policies or whatever. These rules can include the traditional security zones and source destination locations, but also now can include things such as users, applications, URLs, and the like. With other solutions, these are separate products and separate interfaces. Clicking over to the Device menu option allows you to configure your different firepower appliances. Device management is visually enabled with a complete graphical representation of your equipment being depicted. Roll your mouse over different controls brings up additional details and settings for various network ports. For instance, a network technician can easily switch an interface from passive to inline with just the click of a mouse. Varying roles to accommodate the various organizational responsibilities are built into the Firesight Management Center. These roles allow one group to configure the network, another to set security policy, and yet a third to analyze and report on events. Our default system includes dozens of predefined roles, as you can see here, and each of these can be easily customized to fit a customer's unique organization. To do that, we provide a menu-based system to change and build new roles easily. Every single command on every administrative page can be customized to fit a particular role, and to take into account that not all organizations divvy their responsibilities up in the same way. So now that we've seen the power and the value that Firesight technology provides, let's move on to some other things that set our NG-IPS solution apart from all the rest. Let's begin with security intelligence. To achieve continuous advanced threat protection, you need the best research capabilities and expertise to deliver the best detection on the planet. And that all starts with our Vulnerability Research Team, or VRT. The VRT at Cisco is a team of highly experienced security experts whose core mission is to infuse the most up-to-date detection into our advanced threat protection. We possess a distinct advantage over all other companies in the industry in that we own and control two of the most popular open source security projects in the world, namely Snort and ClamAV. These open source projects are a goldmine of exploit intelligence. Millions of users all over the world are contributing intelligence to the VRT every day. We also subscribe to many private and public feeds of intelligence, as well as participate in information sharing with governments and companies across the globe. As a result, we receive over 380,000 samples of attacks and malware every day, and the security we can provide is only as good as what attacks we can see, understand, and take action on. That action resulted in over 4,300 new IPS rules being created last year, far outpacing our competition. Over 300,000 malware exploits were detected each month, and countless vulnerabilities and malicious sites were identified throughout the year. All of this security intelligence was fed back into our solutions, and is why our NG-IPS solution is consistently rated as the best in keeping our customers protected against the latest threats and attacks. Another way we provide value as a next-generation IPS is through our Agile Security Engine. Remember that this was one of the Gartner Group's 5 criteria for what a next-generation solution is: the ability to scale your security platform as additional security functions are added. We provide 3 additional security functions to enhance our NG-IPS solution: URL filtering, application control, and advanced malware protection for the network. Our URL filtering option gives customers the ability to block access to suspicious and malicious websites. These sites are categorized in about 80 to 100 different categories, and there are over 280 million URLs that are updated constantly within the list. The security intelligence that powers this identification and categorization comes from the work done on a daily basis by the vulnerability research team. You can even sort these URLs by their reputation, so you can construct access control policies, as we saw earlier, that allow certain types of application behavior. Maybe allow access to gaming sites, but only those available from sites that are well known and represent low risk to the organization, and then block the rest of them. The application control option has many benefits. Since FireSight gives us the ability to detect mobile device types and their operating system versions, you can address your BYOD situation by enforcing policies that would allow access by only certain mobile device types. Let's say iOS is allowed, but Android is not. Or enforce policies that prevent mobile device browsers from accessing certain areas of your network, such as your finance LAN. It works the same way with the ability to granularly control and allow social media types of applications, so that I can enable a user within my organization to go visit a social media site, but perhaps not do any posting or chatting or reading of email that might represent a conduit in and out of the organization that I want to prevent. I can also use application control to further reduce my risks. For anyone who remembers the Morto worm from a few years back, it exploited a vulnerability in RDP, the Remote Desktop Protocol. Since most users don't do technical support or development work, they really have little or no need for that capability. So by restricting the ability to use that tool to only those who definitely need it, I can reduce my threat plane. Finally, I can see which users and organizations in the company are taking advantage of or exploiting my bandwidth that might be quite valuable to me. Application control gives me the ability to limit that activity to a certain time of the day or to only certain types of company-approved applications. The last value-add option we provide to our NG-IPS solution is advanced malware protection for networks. This option will be covered more in depth in the advanced malware protection track, but you should know that it provides the inline detection and blocking of malware. It performs retrospective alerting, which is the ability to alert on files previously seen and thought to be safe, but later, according to the latest threat information and analysis, are identified as malicious, as well as the ability to trace a file's path through your network to help scope and remediate a successful attack. All three of these options sit on the same firepower appliances as the IPS solution and simply require that a license key be enabled in order to use them. We complement our IPS portfolio with a rich ecosystem of SourceFire technology partners for the entire attack continuum. As you can see, there are solutions in the vulnerability management area for enhancing the data before an attack, solutions in the full packet capture and visualization area for enriching the information during an attack, and connections to incident response workflows, as well as SIM solutions for after the attack. SourceFire makes integration with these best-of-breed technologies possible through 4 powerful, feature-rich application program interfaces, or APIs. The APIs provide connection points for both moving event data as well as receiving host input information, also triggering remediation workflows and querying our actual event and host database. eStreamer provides a secure and efficient mechanism for moving event data from the Defense Center to another platform, such as a SIM solution, and is used by the majority of our customers. Host input is used to augment the Firesite database with third-party data, such as vulnerability and operating system information from active scanners, and can be used to enhance the impact flag correlation. The remediation API is triggered by user-defined correlation rules and can configure alerts and even take actions based on the events, such as disconnecting an IP address by integrating with a network access control solution, or initiating a digital forensic process to be kicked off. And the JDBC API supports third-party reporting and analytics, including visualization, by enabling those solutions to query our Firesite Management Center database. So now we've covered the Firesite technology, as well as security intelligence and the value that they bring to our solution. The last area that I said that I wanted to concentrate on was firepower. So what is firepower? Well, in addition to being the name of our appliance models, it's also our engine. It's what delivers industry-leading inspected throughput performance in a single-pass, low-latency design, as proven by the NSS Labs performance results. And it's also enterprise-ready, in that it's scalable, centrally managed, and built for enterprise-type environments. So here you're looking at the 8350 appliance. This is our 15 gigabit per second IPS. And it's got a couple of great things, like solid-state disk drive and serial over Ethernet that enables you to stand the box up really quickly and not to have to be physically present. One of the other great features is what you see here, this modular interface, and we call these netmods. So you can see some copper interfaces, and below them some fiber 1 gigabit interfaces. And then over to the right here, you can see some 10 gigabit interfaces as well. So if you have different segments of your network with different medium, then you can use these different netmods to address that. If you change and go from a 1 gig to a 10 gig, or from a 10 to a 40, then you don't have to swap out the entire device. You can just add one of these netmods in there to fit whatever kind of media you're using on your network. Additionally, we can also increase these appliances from a performance perspective. This right here is the modular stacking interface, and this is able to stack these devices 2 and 3 and even 4 high, so that they go from 15 gigabits to 30 gigabits to 45 up to 60 gigabits per second off of a single solution. This makes them an exceptional economic and eco-efficient platform. So here on the right, you see our 8200 and 8300 series appliances, which range from 10 gigabits per second up to 60 gigabits per second of inspected throughput. And they're designed for our data center and core network type use cases. They're also the only appliances that we have that are modular in design, so they can make use of the netmods that we were talking about on the previous slide. We do have a level of modularity in the 7000 series when you're talking about the 7115 and the 7125 appliances. In there, we're making use of SFP technology, or small form factor technology, to provide a level of modularity and adaptability to a customer's existing network. But we scale all the way down to 50 megabits per second and everywhere in between. providing the same security, control awareness, and next-generation inspection capabilities on every appliance. And unlike other solutions, we do so with a minimal performance degradation as security functions are added. This universal network security platform can be configured as either an NG-IPS, an NG-IPS with application control, or with advanced malware protection. This provides the flexibility to augment existing infrastructures and add functionality as requirements dictate. So the last thing we'll cover is an overview of what type of sales opportunities you should be looking for, and which ones might seem like a possibility, but they need to be investigated just a little bit more. So the key plays that we're often seeing are technology refreshes. These are usually driven by the requirement for growing bandwidth in the organization, or possible dissatisfaction with their current IPS vendor. Breach and incident response situations are another key play, because the customer is particularly susceptible to a strong argument for a great threat prevention engine, which we have, to displace whatever they've previously had in place. Data center and cloud-based efforts are continuing to grow and expand rapidly, as are service providers, and all of these represent good opportunities for us. As is the opportunity where a customer wants the expertise that a managed security service provider supplies. There are a couple of other plays that we see fairly frequently, and we just put them in the reserve category because we want to add an element of caution that you not waste your time on these if they're not well qualified. The snort conversion entity, while we can successfully convert many of our snort customers into SourceFire customers, there are some that will not have a compelling need or a budget that's appropriate. So we want to make sure that there is some other compelling need that would drive their conversion. And compliance requirements, check-the-box requirements, sometimes are being driven by outside the security organization. We found that if you don't have a security-conscious buyer, you're unlikely to succeed selling a SourceFire solution into that account. So let's talk about this tech refresh opportunity a little bit more. The target, of course, would be the security owner. What they are often seeking is better support and innovation. They really want to feel loved, as their current vendor has often sold them and then abandoned them. And let that be a word of caution to you, that we not be viewed that way when our competitors come into our accounts. Sometimes they are being driven by cost containment. That's often not the primary requirement here, though. It's more about positioning yourself as the key vendor that can deliver on their needs. So the questions to ask are things like, how is your current IPS vendor doing? That question alone will oftentimes surface any dissatisfaction with their current provider. What security challenges or blind spots are you encountering? Is there an application visibility? Is there encrypted traffic visibility? Is advanced malware a problem for you? Because it is for many companies. How is your network changing and growing? As I said earlier, tech refreshes are being driven primarily by bandwidth increases, and asking that question may open up the opportunity to explore that in more detail. And what's the rest of the ecosystem in your customer account look like? We've heard from many of our customers that because of our rich third-party ecosystem and our ability for us to plug and play via our APIs, they like our solution, and it's sticky once it's put in because it's interfaced with much of the rest of their environment that may include a SIM platform and forensics and data capture tools and the like. So there's a wealth of things that we can provide to help win this deal, but mainly it's demonstrating the leadership and support. So introducing our team and making sure that they meet the folks behind the technology is critically important. And demonstrating the lower total cost of ownership, if there is a cost concern, well, that can be demonstrated by using the NSS Labs Security Value Map. Now the next play, the breach incident response play, again, probably the security owner, but it may also have some executive visibility because, again, the customer will have been recovering from recently being hacked or having an exploit. So they're primarily interested in something that will protect them, the right tools, and they need a lot of assistance now. So ask them to describe what the breach or loss was, what the compliance violation was, what controls are now being considered that haven't been in place up until now. Oftentimes, it takes a breach for customers to realize that those point-in-time solutions are inadequate, and they need a new approach. Well, that's a great opportunity to introduce our continuous analysis model and the ability for us to come in and deliver on that capability with our solutions. Ask them how they handle incidents, and do they have adequate resources? Again, we have professional services and partners that can help us in this area, so it's a great question to ask. And of course we can, first and foremost, demonstrate that we are the most effective threat engine out on the market. And we provide a great deal of remediation capabilities through some of our retrospective security and the auto impact assessment and tuning capabilities that we bring to bear on the problem. Well, there's many other plays, as we mentioned, but we don't really have time to go through them all. I've kind of summarized them here in this diagram, and the closer you get to some of these I have described, like the tech refresh or a breach, the sweeter the fit will be, and the more likely you'll have a success. Sell-through opportunities are still great opportunities, and as I said, even some of the others are equally good opportunities, but they may require further qualification just to make sure there's a compelling reason and a budget, or that there is a security-oriented focus to the sales opportunity when you're dealing with a compliance situation. So that concludes the information that I needed to cover today. Now, this was an overview portion. It's by no means intended to be a complete review of all of the features and value that our next generation IPS solution brings to our customers. So I recommend that you go out and look for these pieces of collateral and review them and become acquainted with the information. The Firesight white paper will go into many aspects of our Firesight technology as well as the Firesight Management Defense Center. Defining NG-IPS was the Gartner report that I referred to that lists the 5 criteria that take an IPS solution and raise it to the next generation level. The NSS Labs Performance and Threat Detection report, as well as the Security Value Map, can be found on our website and are very valuable for giving third-party validation to our solution. The Next Generation IPS for Dummies book is a very valuable resource, especially for people who are new to the space and need to come up on general concepts, as well as how those concepts translate out into next-generation solutions. Our Attack Risk Report. This is a sales tool that we utilize. We come into a prospect and we install an NG-IPS box on their network, and we leave it for 2 weeks, and we then take the data back and analyze it and present it in this very executive level friendly report that details what we've been able to find, and we found it to be a very effective sales tool. And finally, the ESG report. Admittedly, it's focused on the advanced malware problem, but it also goes into the enterprise security architecture and where a next generation IPS solution would fit in that. It has a number of nice things to say about us. So, now that you've completed this module, you should be able to identify and explain the importance of the differentiators that the NG-IPS solution has, how that sets us apart from our competitors, and the value that that has for our customers. You should be able to describe the different features of the security platform that the NG-IPS solution runs on, as well as those additional applications that can be layered on top of it, and the features that allow us to integrate into a customer's existing environment and how we go about doing that. And finally, you should be able to identify those sales situations that will most likely result in a successful outcome, as well as those that need to be qualified a bit more. I thank you for your time, and good luck with the assessment.